Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Brainwashed to be Broke, the show where we expose all the lies, all the beliefs, and all the possible conditioning we were taught since we were born and what is truly possible. Today, I'm here with Pegah. I don't want to screw up the surname, so I'll let you to introduce yourself
Sure.
again. But before I let you to do so, she is a leadership training and facilitation expert who helps teams build stronger culture, conflict skills, and accountability and growth. And I'm really pumped for this conversation because most people think leadership fails because people don't really care. But your work points to something different, right? Maybe people were never taught how adults actually change. So, with that, tell us, for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself, like your background a little bit, and what is the thing when it comes to like that you are known for, like a little bit like the claim to fame thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm really glad to be on the show, Adam. My name is Pegah Kadkhodaian. So you got the first part right. And a lot of people look at my last name and don't even want to try. So you're not alone. Um, so I would say, my background, as you described, is, obviously I'm a leadership trainer and facilitator. I'm a consultant. I have my own company and I do executive coaching. And
Mhm,
I've been doing it a long time. I would say resilience is my focus. So
mhm,
I help people overcome difficult odds, whether it's leaders or companies that are going through difficult things. Um, and my background is in neurolinguistic programming. I use that a lot in my work. And I also traveled the country for a couple of years and was a trainer of NLP. I've worked for a couple of other consulting companies in the organizational development space and then decided to break off on my own and have the great pleasure of working with some really great organizations. Um, I like to say that I teach people how to talk to one another, get along, and manage change. So whether that's through diversity, equity, and inclusion training, or leadership and communication training, or sales training, or just simply coaching the executive team on how to get better results from their team members. My claim to fame, I would say, is that I have been said to be tough but fair. That I am a bit of a velvet hammer, which means like I will come down on you, but with so much love, and that I can take the complex and difficult and make it really simple and digestible. So I would say those are the things I'm known for.
Yeah, I love it because like when it comes to when people jumping into entrepreneurship in order to do their own thing, it's usually like they start using this complex type of language that they have heard from somebody or learned something from somebody and that they don't even understand. And like I love it because like when we can actually articulate things really simply and easily, it's literally telling people that we actually know what we're talking about. Like literally, right? And it's raising certainty in what you like that you are actually an expert and so on. So I love it what you just said. And
Yeah.
like, when we could go right now and start talking a little bit about your business and so on and your story, but instead of because I know that most of the people do that, right? On podcasts. So I would like to take this conversation from a little bit different direction and when it comes to the all success that you accomplish in your life so far, what is the true driving source for you? Like, what is the thing
Mm.
that actually drives you to accomplish those things, help people? And yeah, he's like, is it something like, religious, or is it, hunger for freedom, family, legacy? What is it for you?
Mm. I love it. What a great question. I would say my driving force when it comes to just anything I've accomplished or success is my desire to serve. So I want my life to feel purposeful and meaningful. And I'd like to think that all of my own adversity is purposeful. So I like to say, take your pain and turn it into your purpose. And
Mm,
so having gone through a lot of difficult things and adversity myself, I feel uniquely qualified to help people go through their own sort of dark night of the soul or massive transformations, as the case might be, for a lot of people who cross my path. Um, so my desire to serve, but then also really what I would classify as my mission statement in life, which is to inspire, uplift, and empower. So I want to inspire people in terms of their connection to the God of their own understanding and working from that mindset. I want to uplift people and that I want them to feel elevated in their interactions with me, regardless of whether I'm coaching them or getting coffee from them. And I want to empower people, meaning I want people to realize their own strength, to realize their own capabilities, and to feel powerful, regardless of what walk of life they come from or what their station in life might be. So those are the things that really drive me, is a desire to serve and to live out my mission statement of inspire, uplift, and empower.
Why does it matter to you?
Why does it matter to me? I believe that we are all on this planet for a specific reason. And I think I spent a lot of time, in my younger years questioning what my purpose was and what was it all about. And what it boiled down to was like my my whole life is my purpose, right? So everything that's occurred for me and within the context of the events of my life is meaningful. And why that matters to me is I can't believe that the things that happened to me just happened because they needed to happen for no reason at all. I think that they happened because there was a reason that they uh, were meant to happen, and that everything that occurred is part of a greater plan for me to fulfill on what I was put on this planet to do. So, why it matters to me is that I believe it's what I was put here to do.
I love it. Yeah.
Mhm.
When it comes to a lot of people that I've been talking to, they they don't, some of them really know what like is the purpose of their life, right? They are going and trying to pursue it as much as they possibly can. And then I can see the other half that they don't really know, and they're just like going around, and they it's just like there is no really the, you cannot feel the driving sort of like the driving force from them, like the, what I'm trying to say.
I do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Why do you
I think
think that's, yeah, go ahead, go ahead. Yeah, yeah, I
no,
would
no, no.
love to
I
hear.
think
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting observation. I think what that boils down to for me is how people define success.
Hmm.
So I think that as a culture, in well, at least Western culture, we're very often taught that our purpose is to do things so that we can acquire things, and there's an
Mm,
element that's missing, right? So do I believe that everyone deserves to live a like richly abundant life? Of course I do.
mhm,
And I think that we've got it backwards. So a lot of people are told, go out there and do things so that you can get things and then you can figure out who you want to be.
mhm,
And in my opinion, that's backwards, because if you start with like who you are, then from the place of like feeling purposeful, you can begin to do things that are in alignment with who you are with respect to your values and your own kind of mission statement. And then ultimately, when you acquire the things that you desire, it's more meaningful. So
mm,
it's not do, have, be, but be, do, have. So who do I want to be first? Like, what kind of person do I want to be? How do I want to show up in the world? What are my values, right? What am I made of, kind of thing?
mm,
And
mhm,
then from that space, what is it that I want to do that feels aligned with that? And then ultimately, sure, if I do that and if I'm in alignment, am I going to, receive abundance financially? Am I going to receive satisfaction from the quality of my life? Yes. And I say that to you because I've coached a lot of people who have stuff. And by our standard definition of success being monetary or material, they're successful, but they're not happy. And so they might come to me because, gosh, I sold my last company for $250 million. But my personal life is in shambles, and I would
mm,
really rather not have another $1 million divorce. Okay. So
mm,
what went wrong? Well, you didn't really know who you were. You knew that you had some skills and you went out there and you created a company and then you sold it and that was wonderful and you made a bunch of money. but you lost a bunch of money along the way, and you lost something much more important to you, which is like the foundations of who you are. And frankly, like your marriage fell apart, so your relationship. So I think if we start with, well, who do you want to be as a
mm,
person? What feels aligned? What feels purposeful? What are your values? And then we operate from that space. Okay, now what do you want to create? What do you want to do that's
mhm,
in alignment with that? Then you could make, $10,000 a month. You could make $1 million a month. You could make $1,000 a month, and you'd still be satisfied and happy because your life feels meaningful.
mm. Where when did that realization actually came to you? Like that, we have to like grow ourselves in every area of the life, not just in the areas that we are struggling the most, like that we actually or like we tend to see that we are struggling the most. Like for example, most of the people struggling with money, right? That's the biggest thing right now, because like money is like everything around like the whole life. You cannot live without it. And it's funny because it's like literally it's not even real. So anyway, like
Yeah, money
when
isn't
did
real.
yeah
Yeah, you're right. It's
when
not, it's,
yeah
when I, so let's start with that. So money is
yeah
not real. Money is an exchange of energy. It's currency, right? We call it
yeah
currency. It's like an energetic current. So it's just energy. And I think the misconception is that money is something we have to go out and get. And that's not really how it works. From an energy perspective, it's about whether your relationship with money is healthy, right?
mm,
So most people struggle with money because they're not in right relationship with money.
can you tell me
Very
more about
often,
that?
well, so like what I will often have clients do if they are concerned about money, let's say they have enough money, but they're always worried about losing it or not having enough. And I'm like, okay, listen, we need to get to the bottom of what the programming is behind your relationship with money. So,
Mm,
we all get programmed to have a particular belief structure around money, whether it's how we earn it or whether we deserve it, or
mm,
or just that money is scarce or isn't. And so
mm.
what I often have them do is write a letter to money, like if it was a person,
That's
right?
really
And I'm like,
interesting.
just write a letter to money, like write a love letter to money. What's your relationship with money? Like if money was a person, what would this letter sound like based on how money has shown up for you up until now?
Ooh.
And it is so revelatory what people come
Mm,
up with. So it's about your relationship to money. And I had the realization that money is just a byproduct of living in alignment with the rest of your life. Because, first of all, I could have done so many different things with my life professionally. And as a matter of fact, coming from like an Iranian family, I don't know if this is true of your culture, but it's like you're either a doctor, lawyer, or an engineer, or like you're not doing anything with your life. And that wasn't me. I was a creative. I have an acting background. I used to be a dancer. So I knew I wasn't going to go down the path of like the straight and narrow. And I've always been smart enough to go to like medical school or law school, but I had no interest in either one of those things. I knew I was a creative. I knew that my life was more about human behavior than it was anything else. Um, and so when I embarked on this path of becoming an actor, it's because I was obsessed with human behavior. And that journey took me to finding NLP and some of these other spiritual practices. And I was fortunate enough to work with a company whereby I also got to learn some other sort of spiritual perspectives on life and success. And this whole idea of be, do, have for me comes from my background in NLP and also in Huna, this ancient Hawaiian shamanic uh, or the practice of working with energy. And really, any spiritual system that you look at that's worth anything is going to tell you that money is energy and that it's about your relationship to money and like where that relationship with money has you vibrating, right? So, like, what's your
mm,
vibrational frequency as it pertains to money and abundance? What's your mindset? And so if I'm running around with programming or a relationship with money that says there's never enough money, or
mm,
money is the root of all evil, or
mhm,
rich people are all awful, well, guess what? I'm holding myself back from allowing financial abundance to show up in my life. So people talk a lot about the law of attraction,
mhm, mhm,
but the law of attraction is much more than just saying affirmations and like positive thinking. It's about what's your real relationship with money? What's your programming when it pertains to that conversation? What's the vibrational frequency you're in? Because at the end of the day, if you have a good relationship with money, meaning it's healthy, you're in right relationship with it, you're not holding it back from yourself, and then you're doing life in a purposeful way whereby you're not just at a job you hate that you're miserable in every day, but you can show up and do the work you have to do and vibrate at a frequency of like joy and frankly love, then your ability to attract money into your life becomes inevitable, right? So money just shows
Mm,
up. And the law of attraction is more about how you feel and like what vibrational frequency you're at than whether or not you're saying affirmations that might feel empty and untrue if your programming
mm,
doesn't line up. And so this whole idea of like be, do, have, I came to probably, I don't know, at this point, 10 years ago, maybe more,
mhm,
12 years ago, where I realized, oh, it's your mind. It's about your
mm,
mindset and your emotions. And if you're running around just chasing money, you're always going to be chasing money, even if you make it. We don't, by the way, we don't make money, as I'm sure you know, right? We don't make money. We attract abundance, right? So money just shows up. And we have to believe that the services we have to render the world are valuable. And, if I can't tell you how many people I've met that acquire money and then lose money and then acquire
mm,
money and then lose money. And it's because of that relationship they have with
mm,
money. It's because they might come up with a strategy for how to acquire money and bring in great wealth financially, but their mind isn't right. Their heart isn't in the right place. They're not necessarily out there doing good in the world. So, guess what? They're also going to lose that money because they're not living in alignment with their values, or their values are just skewed based on their programming. So, anyway, that's a very long winded answer to your question.
No, this is beautiful. When it comes to like, it's such a important conversation when it comes to money, because like I believe that this is one of the biggest problem in the world. And I believe in it, even it always been, because like we are never being taught how to work with money, how to have a relationship with money, which is really really interesting, because like they're going to schools and so on to actually study to know how to make money, right, and so on, and they do not teach us anything about it. So like when you mentioned that you always wanted to be an actor, I'm just curious why that being such a thing for you, actually. Like, how did you get into even thinking about doing like acting? Have you been always like active, this type of like creative, this type of person that wanted to be like,
Do you know?
performing all the time and such? Yeah.
So what something that the Hawaiians are very good at is looking at a child and what that child's strengths are and what that child demonstrates early on as being like what they have a propensity for. And they go, "Oh, let's encourage this child to do that." Right? Because
Mm,
now they're going to be do have, they're going to be living from a place of like what feels natural to them. Well, I've always just been a character. Like when I was
mm,
a kid, I was really precocious. I was a happy child. I was really precocious and I was very funny, and I was always making people laugh or entertaining people. And I liked it. It felt right. But then as I got older, I also realized that like I'm a creative. It's very
mm,
much just a part of who I am, whether I'm working in the corporate space or otherwise. Like I'm a creative being. And so being someone who's always been fascinated by human behavior,
mm,
when I was in high school, I looked at going into school for psychology. I was like, oh, I'll be a psychologist because that's like, the correct path to take, as, you know, uh, my family would have preferred, that I just go get a degree in psychology and then go to grad school and become a psychiatrist and get a PhD and just be Dr. Pegah. And that's not to say that that I
yeah.
wouldn't still do that, because like I love
Mm,
to learn. And so there is
yeah.
definitely a world in which like I will get a PhD someday. But I was more interested in the experience of like embodying different behavioral characteristics. And so when I was in high
Mm.
school, I had been a dancer as a young person.
Yeah.
And I had been like pre-professionally trained, like ballet. And then I gave that up because it just wasn't a healthy mindset for me. And when I was in high school, I just auditioned for a play, and I got in and I got the lead role. And I was like, oh, turns out I'm kind of good at this. And then when I graduated high school, I honestly wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I took a year off and I went to Germany and I was an au pair, and I came back and I wasn't sure, I applied to different schools and I got in at a lot of different schools. I like had applied at Madison for creative writing, and I had applied at Northwestern, and I had applied at, um, the University of Minnesota. And I just applied to all these different schools. And at the end of the day, I decided, no, I want to go get like a bachelor in fine arts. So I'm like, I'm going to get a
Mm.
BFA. And so I started in my BFA program, and I got a BFA in musical theater and a minor in dance. So I'm
Mm.
an actor, singer, dancer. And so it just made sense. And for a lot of years, I was just doing that for a living. I lived in New York, I lived in Chicago, and I was like singing and dancing across stages all over the country. And it was great, but it was like, I knew that wasn't the end game. And I knew that in addition to being obsessed with human behavior, I'm also obsessed with teaching. And
Mm.
teaching is something that's very indicative of like my family. So my dad was a teacher, on my mother's side, her mom was a principal. So like teaching and educating is like in my bloodline for sure. But I wasn't sure, I wasn't going to be a high school teacher. I didn't want to do that. So I thought, oh, well, I'm an actor. I can go back to grad school and I can teach at a university. So like that was my initial plan. And
Mm.
then after the divorce, as I mentioned, I was like, well, what am I going to do next? And I was like, oh, I guess I'll be a yoga teacher because I love yoga. I've been practicing yoga, and I just followed the breadcrumbs. So it's not that I have ever given up acting. As a matter of fact, yesterday I was shooting a commercial in Michigan. So I still do it. It's just not my full-time gig.
Right. Is it actually good paying prophecy to do something like that? I'm just curious because I have never had anybody doing something
I
like that.
will
So.
say that, yeah, you can make a living at it. Sure. It is not for the faint of heart. And what I mean by that is
Mm.
it's a difficult profession. It's a difficult profession to break into. It's a difficult profession to make money in. I mean, certainly you've got the highest paid profession in the world is either
Yep.
athlete or actor, right? But
Mm-hmm.
they're like, that's the elite, like elite athletes and actors who are making large scale films in Hollywood. There's a lot of us who are not making that kind of money being an actor. Uh, but to me, it was never about the money when I wanted to be an actor. It was about the experience of embodying different characters and expressing
Mm.
myself creatively. Um, I made a fine living at it, and there again, it's because I've never really had a weird relationship with money. I've just always been like, I just want to live comfortably, but I don't need to have like I don't need to be making like millions or billions of dollars. I just want to be able to like live comfortably and travel and like dress well. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
as far as like money is concerned. And I never really felt like I was struggling. I was always very uh up for working hard. That's baked into my culture, and also I'm a Capricorn, so I'm just a hard worker. I've learned to work smarter, not harder. So,
Mm.
yeah.
Why? I'm just curious because like I completely get it. Like every person has different type of like the goal where they are trying to be like in their life and with the money they make and like with the relationship and all of those in all of those areas. When you say like have you do you know how people actually like decide what is like the healthy way, like a healthy decision for like deciding what is the level actually is? Have you ever experienced
Well,
that, or have you ever trained somebody around that?
my take on that is
Mm.
it's gonna sound like the teeniest, tiniest little bit conspiracy theory, but your show is brainwashed to be broke, so I think you'll roll with me. I don't think people actually have much of an idea how much they really need or want to make. I think they're told this is the correct amount or this is the correct, like especially in Western culture, we're told happiness equals this house, this job, this car, this amount of money, maybe. So if you go out there and you buy the big house and you buy the fancy car and you make 6 plus, 7 plus figures, that should make you happy.
Mm,
Like that's the correct amount. But the truth is,
mhm,
most people have no idea whether
mm,
that amount actually is the right amount based on like the
mhm,
lifestyle they want to have. And by design, right? So I do think this is by design. Culturally, we are trained to constantly want more because it's the only way capitalism can work,
mm,
right? Which is to
mhm,
say, you should always be wanting more. You should always be getting more. You should always be acquiring more. You should put that money away. Don't spend it, or do spend it, but keep going out there and making it, because no matter how much money you've made, it's not enough, right?
mm,
I mean, what? Elon Musk is a trillionaire now. Why? Like, just for me to you, like, why? Why is that necessary for any one person on the planet to acquire that much wealth when there's so much poverty in the world, right? Like, that's just, it's broken. That's a broken system. But
mm,
it's by design, right? So we're told,
mhm,
oh, we should all go try and be billionaires. Why? Do you know that you couldn't possibly spend that money in a single lifetime if you tried? Like, you could try to spend $100,000 a day, like really work at it, and you still wouldn't spend $1 billion
yeah,
in your lifetime.
yeah.
You just wouldn't. So, like, why
That's
is that
crazy, right?
necessary? And
Yeah.
then it's like, oh, well, it's legacy. It's for my children. Maybe.
Mm,
Do your children
maybe.
really need that much money to be happy? So I think we've got a distorted way of looking at money and how much
Mm,
is enough and how much is enough for me. And I think what it boils down to is, look at, I have clients, with whom I have these conversations, who are making, quarter of a million, $500,000 a year, and still worried about making enough money, right? Or like their joint income, if they're a two-income household, is well over $500,000. And they're still like, but I gotta worry. And I'm like, do you though? Like, your house is paid off. You're not really into a lot of fancy things. Like, you don't have a bunch of fancy cars. Like, you take the trips you want to, you provide for your children the way you want to, you have a retirement, like, you're
mm,
set, and yet you're still stressed
mm,
about how much money you're making. And I believe that's by design.
mhm,
Because if a corporation can get you to believe that, one, you're expendable, and two, you're never really going to make enough money to have what you need to have, well, then you become a pretty incredible workforce. And we
mm,
teach our kids this at school, right? Like, we send our kids to school, and schools are designed by design to train us to be good, compliant worker bees, right? Go to school, follow the rules, sit at a desk. The principal's in charge, you listen to your teacher. It's the same more or less structure as the military, same more or less structure as like the hierarchy of inside of a corporation. It's by design, right?
mm.
Well, now more
Would
and
you,
more our
I
people
have
are
a
like
question.
breaking
Yeah,
out of that
I have a
paradigm.
question here.
Yeah.
I have a question here. We're gonna continue the conversation. I don't want to lose the thought, because when you said that, basically, we like how you, I just want to understand how you figure, like, or how you can see, or how you see that basically the whole process is designed to want for to want more, because what I believe is basically that human is literally like human nature is to want more always when you hit a goal, certain goal. Like that's like our
Oh,
human
well,
type of.
and we
Okay.
may or may not agree on this. And so hear me out.
Okay. Uh-huh.
I think unchecked
Mm,
human nature, un maybe at a very primal level, humans want more. But if we look at ancient cultures or ancient
mhm,
civilizations, or even like native cultures, or cultures that are more spiritually based, that's not true, right?
mhm,
Meaning, we are not designed as human beings to constantly go after more and more and more and acquire more and more and more. In fact, the happiest cultures in the world, like where happiness has been actually measured,
Mhm.
are not cultures where people are constantly seeking more. They're, in
Mm.
fact, cultures that are more community focused. They're
Mhm.
cultures that are more family focused. They are
Right.
more focused on gratitude and being really happy with what you have. They're more relationship focused. So, our Western, and I say Western really more in terms of like the United States and more capitalistic corporate cultures, that's designed to help us or to make us want more and more and more. And we are brainwashed to believe that's human nature. And the truth
Mhm.
is that actually that's not human nature.
Do,
Human
do you mean
nature,
yeah, do you mean by like, for example, looking at those successful people that we are like admiring, for example, and they are driving this type of car and now we hit this type of thing, for
well,
example, like
think about marketing.
right.
Think about like what marketing tells you, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're never pretty enough. You're never thin enough.
Mm.
You don't have the right clothes. You don't have the right car. You don't have the right house because they need to sell something, right?
Yeah.
So I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to make you feel like you're not enough so that you can go out there and acquire this thing that I'm trying to sell you. Well, to acquire this thing that I'm trying to sell you, you better have enough money to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you're never going to be enough because I'm always, as a corporation, going to need you to want more from me for
Mm-hmm.
me to stay in business. So if you never feel like you're enough, you're never pretty enough, you're never rich enough, you're never young enough, you're never anything enough, well, you're constantly going to want more,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're constantly going to want to be like on this hamster wheel of like, I got to go get that bigger car. I got to go get that nicer car. I got to
Oh
go get
yeah.
that
Wow.
I got to go
Yeah,
get that bigger house.
I love this. Yeah, I
I got
love
to
it.
look younger, right? Now, let's look at
I always like to challenge this type of beliefs because if you can point me or if you can bring better argument, I literally like I'm finding the ways and then shifting my beliefs on top of that. But because this is
yeah.
like how I do and how I teach the most, and this is like how I why I love so much this type of this
And
conversation because people can bring so much good, like so great,
like if you
like
think about
yeah,
this whole idea of like goals, right?
right.
That is a modern concept,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Like if we look at like ancient Vedic, let's go the yoga route, like ancient Vedic ideas,
Mm-hmm.
right? In the Bhagavad Gita, there's this idea of right action, right? And non attachment. And right action is certainly not about don't get compensated.
Mm-hmm.
Right action is about do the thing because it's the right thing to do. Let go of your attachment to the outcome or the reward and trust that the reward will come, right? That's a very different model than set a goal, get into action, acquire that goal, then on to the next goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's the definition of a hamster wheel.
Mm-hmm.
Go,
Yeah, yeah,
go,
yeah.
go. Like I'm never satisfied. And it's like,
Right.
okay, well then when are you ever happy? You're not. By
I
design,
know,
I
yeah.
need the
Mm,
next goal because once I get to that goal, I'm not happy anymore. So to get happy, I got to achieve the next goal and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Now, do I believe that as human beings, by design, we are meant to be expanding? Yes. We live in an
mhm,
ever expanding universe. The universe is expanding all the time. And as human beings, we're meant to be expanding, evolving. That's not about acquisition and acquiring more. That's
mm,
about expanding your mind and your thinking and your
mhm,
ability to like be very, very content with exactly what is, right? Because if we fall into the trap of, I just got to crush the next goal, which is like the biohacking sort of like bro style approach to success, then we're never satisfied. And we get people like Elon Musk making $1 trillion whilst there are entire nations that are not feeding their children.
mm.
That's what that model creates. Is we've got
Did it?
all the money and wealth over here, and even in our own country in the United States, we've got kids
Mm.
who
Did
aren't
you
eating.
say it because he's like the company that he built is so like so large, so huge, and there is so many employees and so on. So it's like potentially natural to have so much money like collected and so on, because like it's really expensive also to like build those ships and like what he's building and this type of rackets, and such. Who
I
knows,
mean,
right?
he's building a big company. Those things are expensive. Great. To what end is my question? Like, for what
Mm,
purpose exactly?
mm,
Like, is he
mm-hmm,
employing people? Sure. Yes, he is
mm-hmm,
employing people. But, like, how much is he giving back?
mm,
Right? Of that $1 trillion that he's
yeah.
acquired, like, he could provide this entire country,
Mm-hmm,
the United States of America, with universal health care.
mm-hmm,
Literally. The
yeah,
entire country could just have free health care if one guy decided to like give any amount of that money back to the people,
yeah, that's a good
right?
point.
Like an
Yeah.
entire nation of our size and scope could have something like universal health care. An entire nation could have no more kids that are hungry. Now, is that more of a socialistic approach? Sure. But what's wrong with social democracy? Like,
Mm,
look at what Mamdani's doing in New York. He's revolutionizing that city that used to be like unaffordable to most of its own residents,
mm,
because he's taking more from people who have more to give and saying, hey, let's share the wealth a little bit. That doesn't mean like, oh, you people don't have to do any work and you people do all of the work. No, it's saying you've acquired a lot. Good for you. Let's be human beings and care for our fellow human beings and take that wealth and spread it around a little bit, because that's the
mm.
right thing to do. That's the humanitarian thing to do.
That's revealing the character of the person on its own, right? Like for
Correct.
like you can talk about Tony Robbins, but basically that's what he does, literally,
He
like he's
does that.
feeding kids and such, yeah. So
Look at how
like
much Tony
I
gives
haven't,
away.
yeah,
He just
right,
gives it away. And it's like,
yeah,
he's one of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world.
yeah, true, yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen anything about like Elon Musk actually doing like this type of things, more than that he's just like so ruthless about his vision to like literally getting people or like be building those
I want to
basically
build a
rockets or
rocket because
whatever.
I want to take people to Mars. Like,
Yeah.
what if we like
But
heal
people
this
loved
planet?
it, right? People love it kind of. Like
Well,
if
they
you can
love it
see people
because
like
they're like, yeah,
yeah.
let's get out of here. It's like, can we take care of this planet? Like, let's take care of this planet. This is the one that we're
Yeah.
living on right now, you know?
Yeah, right?
So I don't
Yeah.
know. It's like, don't get me on this like
No, no,
soapbox,
no,
but
it's cool. I
you
love
know,
this because like yeah, this is really cool conversation because like
and I have to say it because it's worth saying for anyone who's like a big Tony Robbins follower. Tony's an incredibly spiritual guy,
mm,
right? Like the man meditates, like he's really into energy work, like he has really expanded his mind as it pertains to like what the definition of success is and how to get results, right? I mean, he
mhm.
is Mr. NLP, he'll never say it. But like NLP became popularized because of Tony Robbins.
Oh yeah, don't.
He doesn't call it that anymore. It's fine. But he's also expanded his methodology to include things like meditation and energy work and spirituality and
Mm,
gratitude and grounding into your own body. Like, these are not revolutionary concepts, these are ancient practices that are just now starting to like come into more popular like become more popularized and more mainstream conversations. Because if the like consciousness of the planet doesn't elevate and doesn't evolve beyond, let me just acquire more,
mm,
we will cease to exist because
mhm.
it's not a sustainable model.
Love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. What do you mean is not in sustainable model? Like, can you give me like a little bit of example or something
We
like
will
a kind?
destroy this
Mhm.
planet,
Right.
right? Based on like, if our only goal is to go out there and acquire more, make more money, right, at
Mm,
any cost, well, we're destroying the planet in the process. Like,
mhm.
environmentally speaking, we are more concerned about consuming than we are about sustaining.
Do you think is it lots of stuff to do also like the whole conditioning when it comes to people being programmed since the young age, basically in the school and all of that? Like because it seems to me that basically the system is pretty well designed to actually like keep people on hamster wheel, like as you said, like literally being like this type of like in the rat race all the time and like not teaching them about money and all of like different type of things that we actually need in our life to be happy,
Yeah.
which is like really sad, right? Like when it comes to that.
I think it's
So,
by design because, as I mentioned before, like if people do it without question, then they become great little soldiers and cogs in the wheel, and the machine keeps operating as it's always been operating. The beauty of what's happening today is, think what you will about social media, but it's also allowing consciousness to elevate, whether it's through podcasts or Instagram or Twitter or whatever,
yeah.
TikTok. Ideas are spreading faster, and so, as such, people are waking up at a much faster rate. They're starting to question the paradigms that we've been operating inside of, whether it's the patriarchy or it's just this idea of like constant acquisition and wanting more. Those things are getting questioned. Spiritual ideals and ideas are spreading faster. The idea of energy and energetic vibration and like how to be successful as an independent entrepreneur are spreading faster, and like a conscious independent entrepreneur, not just someone
Mm,
who's going to go out there and make money at whatever cost to humanity or the environment. So these ideas are spreading faster. And so people are waking up to this notion of like, oh gosh, like I don't have to be a cog in a wheel. Like I
mm,
can work for a company whose values align with mine. I can work for a company that values life work balance. I can put my energy into something. Companies are shifting cultures because of it, right? They're shifting the
mm,
way they do business because of it. It's slow, but it's happening. And then
mm,
you've got more and more people going out there being entrepreneurs and independent and like creating their own financial wealth and stability by doing things that are more in alignment with who they are, by being in service. So I think that paradigm is changing. I think it's shifting. So I'm optimistic, right, about the direction that we're going in as a human race. But when I say it's not a sustainable model, I mean it's not a sustainable model. We will literally burn this planet up
mm.
before, you know, we get enough.
Right.
Hmm.
Can you also see that, like, I can see that lots of people jumping into entrepreneurship and trying to make, like, literally like trying to change their life and so on, but it seems to me that they are not always equipped, like, with being who they are truly, like, to sustain that pressure and like the
Hmm.
ups and downs that literally are necessary, like literally, in pretty much every
Listen,
business. Right.
entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart, right? So to be your own business owner requires a particular way of being, like is a particular mindset. So one, boy, oh boy, do you have to be a resilient human being. Like you have to know who you are and what you're about and why you're doing what you're doing. Otherwise, you will give up. Like you'll just quit. Because it is actually easier to go to work for someone than it is to be your own boss. Facts.
Mm,
You have to be willing to put in the time, the energy, the long hours to begin with, right? Now, that's not to say that you have to burn out as an entrepreneur. That model is also outdated, but you do have to be somebody who is willing to uh overcome odds, right? You have to be someone who is persistent. You have to be someone who's really dedicated to what you're doing. And not everybody is, right? Some people would rather, frankly, just be a cog in a wheel because it's easier just to collect the paycheck and go home. And there's nothing wrong with that. No judgment whatsoever. Having a steady paycheck is awesome. Having someone pay for your health insurance is awesome. So there again, entrepreneurship is not for everybody and it doesn't need to be. So yes, I agree. I think there are a lot of people who are like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, and they're either not equipped to be that in terms of their own mental fortitude, or they're not equipped to be that because they lose sight of their ethics.
mm, mm,
And they're like, well, I got to make a buck. So maybe I could cut this corner or cut that corner or
mm.
do this thing that's not necessarily on the up and up, And I'm not talking about breaking laws. I'm just talking
Yeah.
uh, per se. I'm just talking about, not necessarily having the best interest of your client in mind. So In
Yeah.
NLP, we have a concept called ecology, right? So your choices are to be measured against whether it's ecological. And what that means is it's good for me, it's good for you, it's good for the collective.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Have you always believed that entrepreneurship is not for everyone?
Honestly, never thought I would be an entrepreneur. To be it was not, I mean, I was like, I'm a creative, I'm an actor. I fell into it accidentally because,
That's pretty
my
like when you yeah, the creativity is one of the things that actually like that's true like entrepreneur. Like because like
it is, but you don't know that it is because you're like, oh, I've got like three
you
side
don't.
hustles that I'm
Yeah.
doing, like I'm doing this and this and this, like my side hustles, while I'm trying to like create something. So like, yeah, I didn't know that being a creative meant I was an entrepreneur, but as far as
And
like
you've
my
been
own,
and you've been yeah, and you've
yeah,
been developing your literally like communication skills since because like you wanted to be an actor like since you're literally young age. This is like a huge direction from being like completely differently equipped to become an entrepreneur because I believe like literally communication is one of the most important skill
oh yeah,
in like not just in business but in any area of our life like
every area of
completely
life. Yeah, gosh, yeah.
so much and like only like because I can see like you and it's the most valuable skill in like if you're going to become an entrepreneur like you have to learn how to communicate like
Mhm.
so well because like there is no ceiling for those type of like this type of profession skill type of thing like literally because you can make the biggest amount of money right there like just like with speaking with proper
Yeah,
communication,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So cool. Well, I also like because I want to a little bit go back to the conversation that we had about your like the things that you do, like that you're helping leaders and teams. What did you believe that good leadership was supposed to look
What do I believe good leadership looks like?
like? Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. How much time do you have? I'm kidding. Um, well, I'll tell you what. I think that I'm gonna reference one of my favorite experts in the field on leadership, and that's Simon Sinek. And I'm gonna
Hmm.
say, from my perspective, to be a good leader is to be a servant leader, right? So I don't know if you've heard his TED talk on, you know, um, good leaders eat last.
Hmm.
So he references in the
I heard that saying,
military.
but
Yeah.
not exactly. Like I'm not really like I haven't been really like studying Simon Sinek unless his one of the books that I was reading, which is the
Start with
what
why.
was it? Yeah, exactly. There you go.
So he's really great.
Yeah.
This particular talk really addresses the importance of true leadership being someone that people turn to for guidance. So just
Mhm,
because you have a title doesn't mean you're the leader of that team, right?
mhm,
People turn to people for leadership that are invested in them. So your colleague, right, sitting next to you might be more of a leader in an organization than your CEO. And what I mean
mm,
by that is he's invested in listening to you. So
mm,
servant leaders come from the place of, I'm here to help bring out the best in you. So
mhm,
if I'm at the helm of an organization as a CEO, certainly my job is to be the visionary for the company, right? So, like, I create the vision for the company, I set the direction, and then, I want to make sure that I have the right people in the right seats. That's my job. But it's also my job to ensure that my people are working inside of a culture that's in service to them as much as it is in service to the greater mission of the company. So why does the company exist, right? So Simon Sinek will tell you you have to start with like why. But then once we've established that, okay, how are we all going to get there collectively? Because the company now has values, the people inside the company have values. So how do we all work within the framework of our values respectively
Mm,
and make sure that people come first? Because it's the people within an organization that make that organization run. I don't care what your organization creates. Like if it's technology, it's people creating that technology. If it's, a product, it's people that are out there creating the product, selling the product. If it's a service based company, it's people providing the service. So if you can't tend to your people, then you have a broken culture. And
mm,
culture has to take the lead when it comes to good leadership. Like you have to decide what is the culture of this organization? And then how do we ensure that we are all living within the guidelines of the culture that we've created? Communication, inclusion, change management, and really being invested, like genuinely invested in and interested in your people. Are
mm,
they happy? Are they doing the right role? Are they succeeding in that role? If they're not, why? Like, it's not
mhm,
just about reprimanding people for not hitting the metrics. It's a question of, like, well, what's preventing you and how can I support you in creating that metric, right? So, like, it's my job as a leader, if I'm leading a team, for example, to assess if my team isn't performing, like that's on me, right? So like if let's say I have 5 direct reports and we're not hitting our numbers, that's on me. So it's not about me, it's about we. Like if you're
mm,
not succeeding as my direct report, I better figure out why and get very invested in how to support you in achieving that goal and getting to where you want to get personally and professionally. So for me, like a sign of a good leader is ability to inspire teams,
mhm,
ability to coach and lead teams. It's someone who is willing to jump in and like do whatever it is they would ask their team to do. Not saying that they should, because you want to stay in your lane as a manager, but that you'd be willing to jump right into the trenches. And
mm,
frankly, to make sure that you eat last. In other words, the
mm.
troops got to eat first. They were taken care of, and then you got to eat, right? The CEO of Costco doesn't pay himself a huge salary, right? The reason Costco is so great as an organization and why people want to work there is because that leader is invested in the people making a livable wage, having health insurance, having a quality of life, having a certain quality of the workplace, safety, psychologically and otherwise. Like those are all indicators to me of good leadership.
How do you recognize in a business that there is a broken culture?
Mm. I talk to the people. So
Can you
when
see it from like from the perspective like when you basically enter to the business and you're gonna see or like
certainly,
you can see some type of way like that people are leaving, for example, or something like you know what I mean? Like
high
that is like all the
turnover,
time. Yeah.
high
High
turnover is a
turnover. Yeah.
pretty clear indicator that something's not
Yeah.
quite right. But also like when I go in to do discovery, for example, if an
Mm,
organization brings me in to do any sort of consulting and I'm doing discovery, the first thing I do is talk to people. So it
mm,
doesn't matter the size of the organization. It could be multiple thousands of people. It could be an organization of 20. I'm going to talk to everybody. What do you love about working here? What would you
mm,
change? What do you appreciate about the person that's managing you? What would you want them to do differently? Why do you like working here? What don't you like about working here? You know what I mean? Some of these kinds of questions like very very quickly shed light on what's broken. I
yeah.
also look at like how diverse is the workforce, right? Does everybody look the same? Does everybody sound the same? Is it all the same gender? Is it all the same? Like, what's going on here? And if there's like a lack of diversity, what that tells me is there's a lack of innovation. This company is
Mm,
not innovating because you don't have diverse perspectives contributing to the growth of the company. You all look the same, sound the same, think the same. You're all just patting each other on the back and you're not innovating. I also look at how does the company feel about change, right? Because if you're somebody who refuses to change with the times, you're going to become obsolete very quickly.
right.
Um, so there's a lot that I look at in an organization to determine how the culture is. I
I love
also
it.
look
Yeah,
at
this is really cool.
I look at the
Yeah, go ahead.
company I look at the company values also,
Mm-hmm.
and I ask the teams like, do you know what the company's values are? And then
Mm-hmm.
I say, do you believe that the company is operating from those values? And then I ask the team, do you know what your values are? And do you believe that
Mm-hmm.
your values and the company's values align?
How many of them they have answered to
You
it?
know,
I'm
it's
just
in,
curious
the
because like
companies
yeah.
that, so I work with a company right now, and I've been working with them for a little over a year as a consultant, and their sales have gone up 56%, no, 54% in the first year, 61% in the second year. So 2 years I've been working with them. So that's 111% year over year, right? You want to know why they're so great?
Tell
Because
me.
the CEO, the owner of the company, one, believes in life work balance. Two, is so invested in the people on that team, not just their results, but their life, their happiness. Are they doing okay? Like, do we need to get them some coaching? Do they need mindset coaching on what's going on in their personal life? He treats every single member of that team like their family. And
Mm,
because of that, because of how much he invests in them, he has employees for life. Like they're not
mm,
going anywhere. The average
love it.
stay in that company is like 15 years. Like they're not going anywhere. There's no turnover because why? They work for an incredible guy, they make great money, and like it's an industry that's easy to work inside of, right? Um, so is it possible? Yeah, it just requires something.
Very cool.
Hmm.
What is it? What, yeah, like this is really cool because like when I moved basically to England when I finished my school and started working in different country, couldn't speak English properly, and like everything was like completely like starting from scratch. I've been working in lots of like small companies and like trying and like fix like just making money basically because I haven't been in that type of mindset that I'm right now. And there are so many of those people that have such a problem when it comes to like having a culture or team or something inside of the business. They don't care about people. They don't care about the employees. Literally, they care about the money more than anything else, which is pretty sad to see. Right. I don't know like how many
It's by
it's
design.
yeah, but it's like it's a large amount of companies that are literally like run
Yeah.
that way, right?
And this is why we have problems with burnout, turnover,
Right.
environmental issues, because it kind of goes back to that same notion of like, is this a sustainable model? No. Like, we're not,
Mm-hmm.
like the model, the current model, the patriarchal model, whatever you want to call it, is not sustainable because we're thinking more about the bottom line than we are the people. We're thinking more about expansion than we are the environment. We're thinking more about progress than we are like consciousness. You know what I mean? It's like if we don't get on board with like elevating our consciousness and putting people first, the idea of AI becomes very scary. But AI on its own is not a scary concept. In the right hands with the right level of consciousness, AI can be is an incredible tool. It's like it's here to stay, right? But it's up to us to decide as a human race, what are we going to do with all this progress and with all this technology? Are we going to destroy the planet? Are we going to destroy the human race? Or are we going to like elevate our consciousness and evolve? So that's really what it boils down to.
Mm. When it comes to, when would you say that people should be start thinking about start building like a team to their business? In like what type of level would you start in a business building a team and like culture community that literally like leading the business instead of you are the only person of like, you know, having like basically running a business or like having a couple of VAs that helping you run the business and so on. Do you have this answer to
I think that
on
that
that
really
question?
that depends on the business, right? So I think what it
Mm,
boils down to is I'll refer another book, which is The Zone of Genius, which is to say you should spend most of your time in your zone of genius, not your zone of
mhm,
excellence, not your zone of competence, and certainly not in your zone of incompetence. You, as an entrepreneur, should spend most of your time in your zone of genius. All of that said, we start scrappy, right? So we start by doing a lot of different things, wearing a lot of different hats. But I think the minute you can invest in bringing someone on to support you with things that are not your
mm,
superpower, you should. Because
mhm.
as an entrepreneur, you should be putting most of your time and energy into your superpower. So growing the
Do you think
business, but also like
do you think
in your superpower. So,
yeah, do you hold on for a second in
mhm.
here. Do you think it's healthy to be like trying to do everything in the business, at least like from the beginning of, you know, when you are launching a business, or do you think it's better to still bring like a people around that are literally like, you know, having different
I'm going to
skills
tell
in
you
each
that
area?
that
Mhm.
again is going to really depend on the business because
Right.
my business right now runs
Mm,
with two people. It's me and an assistant. And I used to have a team of six, seven, but I was like, it's not necessary. Like, there was a time when I was like wrapped up in the hamster wheel of like, I have to grow my business. I have to grow my business. I have to scale my business. And I'm like, oh, I've got a marketing and social media person, and I've got a website person, and I've got I was like, what am I doing here? My business is in helping people. It's
mm,
me, my own skill set, and like I need one other human, and that's all I need, really, at the moment. Might there be a time when like outsourcing some of that is a good idea? Sure. But I also had to kind of look at like what's the return on the investment, right? So like what am I really getting out of like
totally.
having somebody be my social media marketing specialist? It's like, no. So I do think it depends on the business. I think that
Mm,
if you are going to create a business that requires multiple people doing multiple things, then it's better to be in a partnership,
mm,
right? Bring someone else on that like complements your skill set, right? So bring the yin to your yang and create a business as a partnership. Um, but I do think it's imperative as quickly as you can to outsource things that you are not competent at because your time
mm,
is more valuable than what you might invest in having someone do, say, like some of the admin that you need to do. Or like,
right.
if you're somebody who loves doing admin and you're good at it, then sure, do that too. But if you're like, no, my superpower is this, and like it takes me twice as long to do admin than if I just brought a VA on to do an admin, then hire a VA because it's worth your time. So it's about assessing like what's your time worth, right? And are you operating in your zone of genius or not?
Mm,
Right? Like, are you operating in your zone of competence? Kind of, you know, then don't do it. Like, outsource that. But also not at the expense of staying operational, right? So like not at the expense of like being able to keep your business afloat, right? So
mm.
it's not a one size fits all answer is I guess what I'm getting at.
Love it. The last question for you in here, and then I have three rapid fire. Um, Looking at the work you are building now with leaders, teams, and culture change, where do you see this going next? Like for you, like for the future, like in even like with your business life and personal life, what
Yeah.
are you planning to do? Go, yeah.
Well, my goal is to go global. I mean, I do have clients in other countries, but so I want to be fully remote because I want to have location freedom. So where I see this going is more global. But my goal is to expand into doing more training and facilitation inside of organizations, like in a larger scale. Um, and I really love taking leaders and teams off site and providing training and facilitation in off sites, because I do like yoga retreats, right? So I like did a yoga retreat in Spain. I'm doing another one next year. And I think to be able to take people out of their element and into a space where they can relax and mentally kind of disconnect from what the business is about is really, really impactful. So, where I see my business growing is one, global, and two, more in the space of doing offsites and working with leadership teams offsite and continuing to do training and facilitation on site.
Love it. Well, thank you so much. That was a great time with you. I really enjoy all the conversation. I think we could hang out literally forever here.
For sure.
Yeah, so crazy. Where people can find you to connect with you and such.
Yeah, I love it. So certainly they can find me on LinkedIn. My first and last name, or I think my LinkedIn handle is just Coach Pegah. And then my website is coachpegah.com. If they want to listen to the podcast, they can certainly find it on Spotify or Apple. It's just Radical Resilience, the podcast, but look for the red emblem, because like I said, somebody else like took my idea and ran with it. And then lastly, of course, I'm on social media. I'm on Instagram. So they can find me just my first name _ last name. Yeah, that's where they can find me. I'm going to launch a new podcast soon. So stay tuned. But yeah.
Do you provide any free resources or anything that you would like to promote? Or
I have an ebook on my website that's free. So if they want to download my Radical Resilience book, they can certainly do that. The podcast is a great free resource that they can listen to. And then they can certainly just sign up for like a 30-minute initial consult with me to see if they want to work together. That's free.
Love it. Love it. So, and those free rapid fires. So the first one is one book that you would recommend somebody who is struggling with, leadership.
One book that I would recommend for someone is Dare to Lead by Brene Brown.
Love it. If there would be an opportunity that you could delete an advice from the internet, what the advice would be?
Grind harder.
Why is that, actually? I'm just curious.
There's no glory to be had in grinding, but there is glory to be had in balance.
Love it. And if this would be your last interview that you would ever done, what would be the message that you would love to leave behind you?
Live your life on purpose. Figure out what makes you happy and do that. And know that you can.
Love it. Beautiful. Well, thank you again. It was an amazing time with you. And for everybody who's listening, we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye for now.
Thanks, Adam.